guess what? There has never truly been unbiased reporting. Never. If you're doing journalism in a capitalist mindset with a capitalist model where you're trying to make money out of it, then are you unbiased?
Press the button to begin.
You're listening to The Social Primate with your host, Eddie Aguirre. And today we have the incredible Amanda Del Cid Lugo.
Thank you for having me. Incredible. Wow.
Incredible. Amanda, thank you so much for making it out here.
Thanks for having me. It's like I said earlier, it's a very full circle moment for me. One of my first journalistic things that I did out of university for myself was have my radio show here at KQBH. So it's really nice to be back.
Hey, how long ago was that now?
Oh my God, it was a really long time ago. This was pre-pandemic. I started pre-pandemic.
Oh, man, yeah.
And actually was on the air during the pandemic for a short time before I had to let go of my show because I began working full-time at Channel 2, Channel 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Well, KQBH welcomes you back.
Thanks.
Onto the air. And with that, I mean, I want to give some context to our listeners. You're a journalist. You're currently with LA Public Press.
Yes.
I had Mariah on here maybe a year ago or something.
Yeah.
And since then, I mean, LA Public Press continues to grow and to reach new heights, and especially for the kind of journalism that you guys do, very community-based. But you're also trying to stand in solidarity with the community, which is why I want to give you and the LA Public Press team a big thank you, on behalf of me and many others, right? Especially over the last couple of months, you guys have been pushing real hard to provide resources and information amidst this chaos, right? Especially to communities who have been under constant fear by these ICE raids. But through this information, not only does it empower communities, but as I mentioned earlier, it just shows that you guys are about the community and really trying to push forward a narrative that speaks about the realities actually happening, But before we get into that, I definitely want to get a little bit of background about yourself. Like, what led you down this path of journalism, and how do you feel your role with what's going on now? How has that changed?
Yeah. So my journey, which I like to share with people, especially folks who are interested in partaking in the media landscape, right, is I originally, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I'm going to be an author. Like, I really loved reading, so I thought I would be a writer. And then I realized that was way too much pressure, world building. And I shifted to nonfiction and like creative nonfiction. I had a literary magazine when I was in high school that I was the editor-in-chief of. And then I decided I could actually do this for like work. Mm-hmm. Like I could be a part of a team that does like storytelling. And I decided to go to school for journalism, and I made it somehow. It's been a journey. Like getting to LA Public Press from where I started off was like I didn't realize that I was setting myself up for this job because this job didn't exist. So doing community engagement, doing audience engagement work in the style of LA Public Press was not something that many newsrooms partook in. Like when I was in university, when I was at Cerritos College at Talon Marks, go Talon Marks, there was no social media editor. I was the first social media editor of that newsroom. And then I became the first social media editor of the Union Weekly, which was a weekly media thing at Cal State Long Beach. And then I was the social media editor for the magazine Dig Mag at Cal State Long Beach. And then I became the editor-in-chief of the website. So when I left university, I actually had such a difficult time finding a job because those roles were just getting started. A lot of newsrooms were just hiring on their first people that were going to be handling social media. And they didn't know... First off, I didn't know how to put together a portfolio for that because that didn't exist. Like, how do I show people that I ran my newsroom's Twitter page, or that I ran my newsroom's Instagram page, or that I was the one doing the posting on the website on Squarespace? Like, we didn't really understand how to do that. So I struggled a lot right out of university to get a job. And I actually was rejected by the same person that ended up hiring me at CBS.
What?
Yeah, at a job fair. So my friend had just done a internship at Univision, So he was able to get a job at CBS through this job fair that we went to. But when I sat down with that same hiring manager, she was like, you have a lot of management stuff on your resume, so maybe you need to be like a manager at like a small time paper somewhere in like Fresno or Yuma or like in the middle of nowhere where it's like low stakes. And you can be a manager there and work your way back to Los Angeles. And that's just like how a lot of news works, though. So like you end up working at places like the Fresno Bee or like a small paper in Yuma or a small TV station. And then you want to work your way back to places like Los Angeles. And I said no. So I just kept waitressing for a while, did odd jobs here and there, production assistant jobs here and there, started my radio show here. And that's what made the difference when I sat with her the next time, almost a year later. My friend was like, oh, we have an opening. I know you didn't get hired last time, but I'm going to put in like a personal good word for you. And like, I'll hand your resume to the hiring manager. And they hired me on the spot because they were like, oh, I see that you're like trying to teach yourself how to do radio. And you have a weekly radio show, like that shows a lot of initiative. And that's why they hired me.
Okay.
And doing that radio show was actually like pivotal to my career. Because it got me that job there, which I desperately needed because I was considering leaving the career field altogether.
Damn, yeah.
Yeah, because I was like 25. I had graduated school. I had been out of school for 3 years and I couldn't get a job. And I was like, man, maybe this is just, I guess my mom was right. I should have just been a teacher. Like, but I did feel like this was my calling. And if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it my way. And I wanted to do it in LA. And I wanted to do it for the Southeast. Like, it didn't make sense to me to go to somewhere like Yuma or San Jose or Fresno, because it's a disservice to me because I'm disconnecting from my community. And it's a disservice to them because I don't know anything about their community. And it's a huge responsibility to disseminate information in a mindful and humane way that's in service of a community. And if you don't know that community in a personal way, I don't think that you're going to be able to do the best job. And that's so far and away from how journalism has always been done. So, I mean, I've been very stubborn about it. I had opportunities to leave LA when I started off at CBS as a production assistant, and then I got promoted to the streaming service. So I was a assistant producer for the streaming service, 24/7 streaming service, most watched in the nation for KCBS. But before that, I was about to leave CBS to do radio. I was a finalist for KCRW's like fellowship. And I was like, I love radio. I'm going to do radio. And my boss was like, what if I find you something like in-house? She was like, well, I can send you out with a TV crew and you can get a reel together and I can get you on TV in Fresno or Yuma. Like, I don't want to go to Fresno. I don't want to go to Yuma. This is home. And like, I want to serve my community. I don't want to leave. So I just stuck it out. And then one day Mariah called me and was like, I got recruited to like be part of this new newsroom. Like, I'm going to co-found this newsroom called LA. We didn't have a name. When I got hired, we didn't have a name. We were the Foundation for Los Angeles Journalism. And that was it. We had no publication name. And she was like, I'm gonna be the audience director, and I'm looking for someone who's done like similar work to the work you did when you were in radio. And I was like, okay, like I'll think about who I might know. Send me the job details, because I wanted to I was like, I'm not gonna recommend any friends of mine to a job that I think is not paying well or doesn't have good benefits or this, that, and the other. But then I saw the details and I was like, oh, it's me you're looking for. I think it's me. And she was like, but CBS. And I was like, I hate it here. I hated the work we were doing. I hated the way that they would work me like a robot, like I wasn't human. They expected me to just work and work and work. And for what? For journalism that I didn't believe in, you know? And every time I pitched something, they were like, oh, I don't know about that. Anytime I would pitch for them to do something nice in the Southeast, they were like, no. The real nail in the coffin for me, when I decided that I was going to start looking for jobs elsewhere, I pitched, you know who Walter Thompson Hernandez is?
Yes.
Yeah, so that fool got his film at Sundance and he won an award, and he did a screening in Huntington Park, right? At the historic theater we have in Huntington Park. And I pitched it to our Saturday morning crew. I was like, why don't we send a truck down to like see what the reception of this film is like? It's going to be huge. Like, it's a great Saturday morning feel good thing, right? Like, this guy who grew up in the Southeast made it all the way to Sundance, and he's going to host a free screening of his film for the community. And they were like, I don't know if that's worth our time.
For real?
You know? And like, Walter is a award-winning journalist, New York Times award-winning journalist, Sundance filmmaker from LA. If he was from anywhere else, they would have sent a truck. But he's from the Southeast, so why would they send a truck to the Southeast for something like that? They only ever sent trucks out to our neighborhoods when there was shootings or a car chase or like so. And I was so sick of just seeing that representation of our communities. I was so tired of seeing the way that they formatted news. And it was just like, it's no lie. If it bleeds, it leads. That's like, they live and breathe and die by that. And I was so sick of it.
It's interesting that you say that, because a couple of weeks ago, there was the Huntington Park raid. I think it was on Flower Street or something. I ended up showing up there after all that happened. And when I got there was ABC was on the ground doing some report, and they were interviewing, I think, one of the main individuals in that household. So I didn't get the chance to speak to them because I'm not a journalist or anything. I'm just a guy hosting a podcast who's trying to inform my community, right? Because I care about it. So I show up and I see the neighbors hanging out, talking about what's going on, and I approach them. And then I asked her, I was like, hey, like, I'm Eddie. Like, I do a radio show. I'm trying to just get a little information about what happened. Do you mind speaking to me? And she's like, no, not at all. And me dio su nombre, Steph, and everything. And we talked maybe for a good 5-10 minutes, and she was just giving me... When we first started, she says, I don't want to do any video. I just want to do audio. I was like, cool, I respect that. We finished the conversation, and behind me was the ABC guy waiting, like the reporter. And I was like, hey, Steph, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And as I'm walking away, this guy goes up to her and he was like, hey, Steph, like, you mind if we do an interview? And she's like, I don't want to do video. And he's like, but you gave him video. And I was like, I walked away like, bro, like, why you got to act that way? That's very unprofessional. And it goes back to the thing, like, what are you there for? Are you there really to extract information from the community?
Absolutely.
Or are you there to want to, connect with them?
Exactly. That's what we call parachute journalism. Like, and that's really the only kind of journalism that we've seen in the Southeast in any meaningful way for, I think we're going on decades now, right? Yeah. Because, what is it, 2025? I think, when was it that the Huntington Park newspaper folded? Sometime in the 80s, late 80s. It's been a really long time since we've have had any meaningful, equitable journalistic representation in the Southeast and in other communities like the Southeast, right? So we're talking like North Long Beach, Compton, Northeast LA, so like Highland Park, El Sereno, even East LA. Like, oftentimes we don't see equitable representation, and it's because they're just trying to make money. And like, yeah, get your bag, but like, we're people. I think they somehow get lost in the idea of, I need to be first, I need to be best, and it becomes like almost like a narcissistic kind of mentality in the way that they do journalism, that they forget that these are people's lives that they have in their hands. And the way that they do this kind of storytelling can be so harmful to our communities, right? So like, when journalists don't think through naming a street vendor and naming where it is that they post up, like, you got to think through that. You can't out a street vendor's name and location in a mass media publication. That's crazy. But like, these people are not actually thinking through the things that they're doing because they're so lost in the idea of like, I need to be best and I need to be first.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that we've been super mindful of at LA Public Press. And I'm so thankful that I haven't had to fight to make sure that it's that way. Like, we've all come to this table with that mentality that we're never going to be first. We're such a small team. We're a nonprofit. We literally don't have the resources to be first. So how can we shift our mindset of how we do journalism to provide, to fill in a gap, right? TV stations, big publications like LA Times, they're always going to be first because they have the most manpower. They have the most editorial manpower to get shit done really fast. And we just don't have that. So how can we fill in other gaps? How can we write the day 2, the day 3, the week 2, week 3 story that's going to be the most impactful work that we can do?
Yeah.
Right? And so when, like, for example, with the fires, there was no way we were going to go to those fires. We don't have the safety equipment. We don't have the safety training. There was no way we were going to send a reporter without any kind of gear or training into a fire, you know? So how could we do our best work from where we're at with the resources we have, right? So that's when we shifted to who's doing mutual aid. How can we uplift mutual aid efforts? This is a super traumatic time. How can we uplift mental health resources? We did a live Instagram session with a therapist, you know, about how people can deal with post-traumatic stress, the potential of post-traumatic stress resulting from these fires, right? So things like that I think other newsrooms were so lost in the idea of getting the images of homes burning down that they forgot about the people who owned those homes or who were living in those homes, right? So, I mean, there's a need for all different kinds of media, right? Like, there's value in the breaking news because people need to know what's happening right in that moment, right? But after that, we have not had a lot of people thinking about the longer term effects of these things or giving context of how these things happened. So I think that's something that LA Public Press has tried to be mindful of. And we've also, when I first got hired on, we were doing a lot of surveying, which is something that I think was kind of groundbreaking that we did. We didn't have a full journalism team assembled yet, but we were out on the ground in person in communities that we knew needed representation, asking them, where do you get your news? How do you get your news? What do you dislike about how news is done? And what do you dislike about the news that is portraying your community? What is important to you that you wish these publications would talk about or cover? And that's how we formulated our reporting plans as we started assembling a team of people. So, I mean, I think that's not that hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, you break it down, it sounds extremely easy, and it makes you wonder why these mainstream outlets don't have the same approach, right? But I mean, you start seeing again that the point that you made earlier about sending people out to Fresno or to these random spots that they're not connected with. It's the same thing. Like, that's what happens when you're sending people out there who are not of the community, right? And I know sometimes it's important to have unbiased views out of it too, right? Because I mean, if you're in the community, then you're just looking out for your community, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But then people start questioning your integrity or stuff. But
I mean, I get that, and I've had a lot of people come at me with that, like, how do you do unbiased reporting? Blah 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 blah. Guess what? There has never truly been unbiased reporting. Never. If you're doing journalism in a capitalist mindset with a capitalist model where you're trying to make money out of it, then are you unbiased?
Right.
You're trying to make money. That is where your goal is. And that's why you do journalism the way you do it and tell the stories that you choose to tell. So I don't see why we can't flip that on its head and say, well, why wouldn't we hire people from those communities who have built-in sourcing, built-in nuance and experience on the ground with the circumstances that these people are living in, right? Like, no one's going to be able to tell our stories better than we are.
Yep.
So why would we choose to send someone else. It's the same argument that a lot of people have had with women reporting on like abortion. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, can you actually have an unbiased opinion if you're a woman? Why wouldn't my experience as a woman be of value to this storytelling? And why wouldn't that lead to more nuanced and intriguing and important lines of questioning about whatever it is that's going on, right? Because I am from the Southeast, and not to say that my experience is like a representative of everyone's experience in the Southeast, right? But because I am ingrained in the community and I'm part of the community, I have a deeper understanding of what our community has been through, and who these people. I'm going to have a more kind and mindful manner of reporting because these people are my neighbors. And I have to walk those streets every day knowing that I'm responsible for telling their story in a kind, equitable way. Mm-hmm.
I love that. And I go back to the thing that I'm not a reporter of any sort, right? But
you are.
Well, thank you. I'll take the compliment.
Yeah,
it's hard sometimes to fit into the labels because I don't feel like I really do the work per se. But I mean, I guess the point I'm trying to get to though is like I'll still go on the ground and film, and I guess that is a form of documenting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And while I was on the ground during these protests happening in Southeast LA, at some point or another, while I'm sharing stuff and I'm getting engagement and I'm getting the likes and all this stuff, there's this part of me, and this is just me speaking personally, where I'm trying to figure out the balance between the story that I'm trying to tell, right? What am I there to do, right? Like I'm there to really just observe what's going on and try to put that in a condensed version where people can just consume this, right? But then I'll be lying if I didn't say like the engagement wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm getting all these likes. Like you just see this activity
kind of rushes
happening
to your head, right?
Yeah, it gives you like a rush for real. It does. But at the same time, that part of me that says, well, you got to be responsible with what you're doing. You can't just go out there and for the sake of trying to create something, to put something out there, you start muddying things up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think what's important, like the first step to doing this work in a responsible way is asking yourself that question, right? And I think that's the difference between you wanting to be like an influencer and you doing work from a place with like good intentions and in good faith, right? And anyone can be a documenter. I've had this discussion. I've been on a couple of panels where we talk about documenting. Anyone can be a documenter these days. We all have a camera in our pocket, and anyone can do the thing where you record the police, you record a protest happening, you record any kind of accident or incident, right? And as long as, one, you're not becoming part of the story, like you're not getting in the way, you're at a safe distance, you're keeping yourself safe, and two, you're not like editing footage to change the narrative, or you're not saying that this is the only narrative that's out there. I think something that we've kind of gotten ourselves into a hole in the journalism industry is this both sidesisms, right? Like, oh, we have to represent both sides or else we're not like doing work in an unbiased way, right? But sometimes there aren't two sides to something. Right. So it's kind of like the climate change stuff. Climate change deniers were always platformed for some reason. Like they would talk to climate scientists and then they would talk to climate deniers. Like, why are you platforming these people? What qualifications do they have to be denying this? I don't understand. Like sometimes there are no two truths. Sometimes there is just like facts, and we don't need to represent both sides because that's a disservice to our community, like platforming and validating what they're saying, you know? But more of the time, there's way more than two sides, and presenting something as a black and white two sides issue is a disservice when there's many more variations to the truth than that. And I think that's the way that I operate in the way I do journalism, right? Like I need to present the facts that I am privy to And I will never say that what I report is the whole truth or the only truth, right? And it's like such a cheesy thing that I like to say, but I've said this multiple times. I think truth is a faceted gem, right? And from whatever angle you're looking at it, you're only going to see so many facets. And that's the truth that you know to be true, right? But someone's looking at it from another angle and they're seeing other facets of that reality that you will never really understand or see or know. And that's also the truth. Yeah. You're looking at the same thing, but you're looking at it from different angles, and that's still the truth.
Yeah. And when you put it that way as well, I mean, once you come to the understanding that there is multiple sides to these things, I would think that for the most common person, it'll be something that you can take and say, okay, well, let me now try to see how this part of the story fits into this bigger picture, right? And then that just, you understand what you're consuming a little better than just going based off the headline.
Yes. And I think that's something that, I think our communities, part of what we do at LA Public Press and part of what I am passionate about in journalism is also media literacy, making sure people understand how they're consuming media, and understanding that this is a relationship that we have, right? You have a relationship with the media platforms that you're consuming, and in the end, it's also your responsibility to consume various forms of media, and I hope that most people who are trying to be informed go to more than just one publication to get their information about a certain thing, right? So I say shoot for 3. If you're reading a story and it came out of LA Public Press, please seek more. Go to Cal Matters, go to LA Taco, go to the LA Times. I mean, go wherever it is that you can find more information, because every reporter is going to find different pieces of truth. And you're not going to get a full picture of the whole truth ever. We're never going to know everything, right? But if you do your due diligence of seeking information from multiple platforms, you're going to fill in more gaps. And we should be seeking to work in conjunction with each other. I think that's what's really beautiful about LA Public Press and other publications like LA Taco, or even we just did a collaborative post with the 51st, which is a newsroom in Washington, D.C., finding a way to create networks, right? And that we can lean on each other. Journalism has been a cutthroat industry for a long time, where people are just trying to make money and trying to claim fame, I guess. People want Pulitzer Prizes. People want to be the best, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be the best. I want to be the best at what I do, and the best version of myself for my community, right? But I don't care to get accolades are nice. It's nice. I won't pretend it's not nice. It's not nice, but that's not the goal, right? The goal is to be of service, and the best way we can be of service sometimes is working together.
Exactly. Especially during these times,
exactly.
We have no room to not collaborate.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's something that a source of mine mentioned to me a bad experience that they had with a reporter at a big publication. And that's super upsetting to me, because I can't do everything. I can't cover all of the Southeast. Being I don't wear it as a badge of honor that I'm one of the only reporters in the Southeast. I think that's a huge shame and a huge disservice to our community, because I can't do all the work. It's overwhelming, right? And I need to know that my colleagues at other publications are being careful and mindful and kind to my neighbors and my family. These people are like family, This is my community. And to know other reporters are coming in and doing irresponsible work is so frustrating, because I can't do it all by myself. I need to be able to rely on other journalists to do good work, because we're all in this together.
Yeah.
There is no democracy if we're not all in this together.
Yeah. And you know what? I do want to also give you a shout out, because every time I see you in Southeast LA, you're there on the ground, you're just putting in the work. And I think it's awesome, because again, you're not just doing your job, but you're also part of the community. You're there showing up as your own individual self.
Yeah, I think that's been such a pleasure because I get to, in my daily life, doing things that I would normally want to do. It also sometimes leads to work, or work leads to, making connections with folks that I could definitely be friends with because we're community members in the same spaces. So it's been so, so nice. I think working previously at the TV station I was at for almost 3 years, I became really severed from the community because I was just working, sleeping, working. Like, that's all I did. Plus the pandemic, like, I was just at home. Yeah. So I lost a lot of connections and didn't build a lot of connections that I normally would have been able to build during that time. And being able to work with LA Public Press, work in the Southeast specifically, and also, like, I get to work from home. Like, today I worked from Art Space Huntington Park, like, and just in community with folks while I got some work done. So it's been such a pleasure to be able to build those connections, not just for work, but as, like, an individual. Like, if I ever stopped doing journalism, I won't stop being a member of this community. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Through LA Public Press, one of the goals, or one of the strengths that I've seen, is that you guys do touch on subjects or topics or events that have happened, and you follow up with them. One of the ones that I definitely found interesting that you wrote was the Inside 70 Hours of Hell for Aspiring Marine Detained Bell.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think it's extremely important to reconnect to these stories that are happening, because a lot of the times you read something and you forget about it. You're done, right? I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to speak to Alejandro Orellana, who was arrested by federal agents a couple months ago. And I thought that was an extremely important story for me to learn from, because it gives me insight into parts of the stories that we never get a look into, And that article that you wrote was one of those examples. So can you tell me a little bit about how that went down?
How it played out.
How did it play out for you?
Yeah, I mean, that was a crazy day. I mean, you were there, right? You were actually on the ground?
No, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but I was not on the ground. I was seeing it through Elizabeth Alcantara's
okay. And that's also how I became privy to what was going on. Like, as part of the audience team, I do this thing called Friday Flyer Drops, right? And so, like, part of my job is to scroll and, like, troll through Instagram to find flyers. But I saw, like, her thing pop up and it went live. And I was like, I wonder what's going on. So I just clicked it, and then I saw, like, it was like it looked like a mess. All of the people gathering around the 2 vehicles that had been in an accident on Atlantic, right? So I'm watching this. I sent it to my boss. I sent it to Mariah, and I was like, yo, should I go? But then it wasn't too long after that, I think within the span of 20 minutes, right, my editor-in-chief and Mariah were trying to decide if they were willing to take the risk, like put me in physical danger by sending me down there, because I didn't have any protective equipment, right? I didn't have N95 masks, stuff like that, right? So they were trying to figure out whether or not it was worth it to physically send me there. And then the tear gas canisters came out, and they were like, don't go. Don't go. We don't want you there. Like, other publications would have been like, why aren't you already there? Like, why are you even asking? But they definitely put our safety first. Like I said, because we're not a breaking news site. We're not going to be the first. So how do we work on, like, the day 2 story, right? What else is going on? And I was actually connected to the family of the man who was detained through a community member that's pretty involved across the board, runs a social club, and they hit me up and were like, hey, this family wants to speak to media. Can I put you in contact with them? And I was like, yes, please do. So actually that same night, they didn't know where he was. So his name is Isaias, right?
Isaias Pena Salcedo.
Yeah. And so Isaias had actually been taken to Metro Downtown, the MDC, but his family didn't know where he was at the time. He had not been registered until really late that evening or the next morning, and that was a Friday, right? So they weren't going to, like, fully process him or book him until the next week, which is crazy, right? First of all, that's insane. But the family was gracious enough to invite me into their home that same night. They were like, if you're free, we'll speak to you right now. And so, like, I packed up all my stuff. I was actually working at ArtSpace at that time, too. I packed up all my stuff at ArtSpace, and I headed down to one of their family members' homes in HP. And I spoke to his brother and his sister-in-law and his mom and his other relatives over the phone. And they were like, can you help us figure out where he is? And I was like, I will do my very best to try and help you figure out where he is, but I need to know what it is that you know.
Yeah.
They put me in touch with his friend who was with him when he was detained. They all started sending me videos, and I was piecing it through TikToks and Instagram reels, like trying to get
how it developed.
Yeah, how did this happen, right? And hearing his friend tell me what had happened was really like how I was able to figure out what was going on in the videos, right? Like, because if you look at the clips of what had happened, like some of them cut into after he's already on the ground.
Yeah.
He's being detained, and so you don't really know, why is he being detained, what's going on. A lot of people in the comments, you look through those comment sections and they're like, well, what did he do to deserve to be detained? Nothing. He really did nothing to deserve to be detained. He also had his American passport on him and gave it to them, and they still detained him.
Yeah.
And they have no legal authority. They don't have any jurisdiction to detain American citizens. So the fact that they still took him was already like, what is happening? What's going on? And he was not released until Monday morning. It's a huge violation of civil liberties, right? And it doesn't make any sense. And it was one of the first big incidents that, people call it the Battle of Bell, right? Which is so...
That is so crazy. I heard that at the park.
But yeah, they call it the Battle of Bell. I mean, because those ICE agents were stuck. They weren't able to do their smash and grab, like, raid style that they're used to doing, where they were at Jack's car wash down the street. So this is exactly what happened. This is the timeline, right? They were at Jack's car wash on Atlantic in the city of Bell, and this family in this Jeep getting their car washed, they hopped into their cars because they saw the raid start to happen, and they were like, let's get out of danger, let's drive away. And some ICE agents or bounty hunter who, I think in the end they were determined to be Border Patrol, because Border Patrol claimed to have been there. But they hop into their truck, and there's footage of when the family's vehicle leaves the car wash, and there's footage of the ICE agents in the pickup truck coming behind them. Then you hear a screech and you hear a crash, and suddenly the vehicle with agents is in front of that family's car. So they hit the brakes to brake check the family, and then caused an accident. Yep. Right? And that's exactly what happened. You can see it from different videos, like, of what happened, right? And from eyewitness accounts, I spoke to people who saw it happen, who were working in shops in the area, or who were just bystanders, right? They witnessed the pickup truck cut off the family and hit the brakes to cause that accident. And they were stuck. They couldn't leave. I think
the car backed up into the car, no?
The pickup truck, I think because they hit the brakes so hard that the family vehicle became stuck underneath the back of the pickup truck. Yeah. There's footage of them of the family trying to back their car out, and they couldn't get dislodged from the other vehicle. So they had to call like a tow truck. They had to call for assistance. Yeah. And so they were stuck there, and the community came out in force. And I think I saw coverage from other publications, and I was so pissed off because they were making it seem like it was this huge violent show of force by the community. But if you see, I was piecing it together bit by bit, right? People came out because they heard an accident and they were concerned. Yep. And people in Southeast LA, I mean, they love their chisme, but they're also like concerned citizens. Like, they want to know that people are okay. Like, do we need to call the police? Do we need to call ambulances? Type of thing. So people came out of the businesses and out of their homes to see what had happened. And they are met with the visual of ICE agents threatening a family. in their vehicle, in all their gear, in their masks and their faces covered, and this tactical equipment, and they're upset. Of course, they're gonna be upset, right? And so the community comes out and they're like, stop harassing this family, and more people come out, and more people come out. Mm-hmm. So this crowd is not going to dissipate because they're still there. The agents are still there. And if you look at the footage, there was no true escalation until more agents arrived and they tried to move around. Yep. And they were driving their cars like towards crowds of people.
Yeah, they were going over the parking dividers and all that.
They were going into parking lots, but people were surrounding the area because they were trying to be witnesses.
Exactly.
People had their phones out. People are watching and trying to like make sure that nothing bad happens to this family, right? And Isaias had the unfortunate privilege of being in the area because he was going to the grocery store with his friend to pick up supplies to have a barbecue for his friend's birthday. He was not there to be a protester. None of those people were truly there to be protesters, at least at the beginning, right? Like maybe people came afterward after they caught wind that there was ICE in the area and they wanted to be witnesses, right? People want to hold the government accountable. And that's one way we can do it, by witnessing, by documenting, right? But Isaias had no idea what was going on. There was just a crowd of people. And him and his friend and his friend's mom were like, let's go take a look at what's happening. What's with this crowd? And as they were leaving, after they figured out what was going on, he was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be involved in any kind of protests or any kind of action. I just want to leave the area. Mm-hmm. He's following the directions of a local police department, like officer, who's, you can see in certain footage, gesturing towards Isaias to come forward, to walk forward. And then a truck that is being driven by Border Patrol agents jolts forward into Isaias, like into his body. Yeah. Like, and reasonably, he hits the hood. He bangs on the hood to
like, hey, like, stop,
to give them notice that he's right there. Like, hey, don't hit me. I'm walking across per the recommendation of a police officer that was right in front of me. And that was all it was. Then they grabbed him, threw him to the ground. 5 Border Patrol agents. One of them was sat on his head. Like, and that's what happened. And in what world is that justified?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in positions where I'm crossing the street normally and I see a car, like, you know, no me ve, and I'm just like, hey, like, tap on the thing, you know,
hit
like,
the hood,
hey,
or you
it's
like,
a natural reaction.
Or you scream, or you do something like, hey, I'm walking here, like, very New York of us, right?
No, but I mean, it's true. They're trying to hold, they're trying to charge people for their natural reactions, right? Like, come on. And like you mentioned a great point earlier where people showed up to see what was going on. They're not even considered protesters. They're just people, concerned citizens looking out for what's going on in their community. Yeah. And I like to relate this to, and I mentioned this already a bunch of times, but Paramount, I think it was June 7th or June 6th, the morning of when the Home Depot big raid started happening.
The first day, right?
The first day. I showed up and it was community members with their phones just recording, filming, and you got all these agents just tear gassing everybody. Yeah. It's like, what? Like,
it didn't make any sense. There was like no need for escalation, right? And like, thankfully, in the city of Bell, no one got like really hurt. Yeah. There was no true escalation. And I don't always say this of police, but the police kind of, I think their presence there was one of the few times we have seen a police presence not lead to escalation, which is shocking because generally when we see, like, I think we've seen a lot of these issues, like these incidents devolve as soon as police and sheriffs come on the scene, right? That's when things escalate. That's when we see gas canisters come out. That's when we see rubber bullets come out, right? But this time, the police were not the ones shooting the gas canisters. It was the Border Patrol people who were the ones that like were escalating the situations, driving their vehicles towards crowds of people, shooting gas canisters. Like, it's one of the few times where the police actually were not the ones that were
the ones
escalating things.
Yeah, and I want to say it's during the same time frame that this event in Bell's happening, but there's one in Maywood at the same time.
Yes, yeah.
And similar.
Where do I go?
Yeah,
what do I do?
Exactly. And in this case, we have a car. I think they pulled somebody out. They arrested somebody because I think they ended up pulling up to a car wash, and there was a car on the public street just driving, and these agents open up their door, and the car hits the door and crashes into the door.
Yeah.
So they arrest this kid, basically saying, like, you crash into us, you're trying to, like,
well, you threw open your door in the middle of the road.
So irresponsible, first of all. Like, come on. But again, there's this footage that just captures this stuff, and it goes back to the same thing where documenting this stuff, safely, of course, is integral to making sure that we try to hold these individuals or agencies accountable to an extent. Right?
Exactly, yeah. And so like, thankfully, there was so many folks that were like turned their cameras towards Isaias when he was being detained that you could see, like, you could see exactly what happened. And that's where it's like, it's invaluable. It's priceless information to have this footage of this incident, right? Because that backs up my reporting and backs up his story of what happened. And so, like, it's like I said, like, there's only so many journalists who are doing this work, and like, so because I was focused on Bell, I couldn't go to Maywood.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? But I think LA Taco covered what happened in Maywood.
Yeah, I want to say
to a degree, right?
Yeah.
So, like, there's people doing the work. And we need more people doing this work.
Yeah. Now, we got a couple minutes before we wrap this up, but I did want to go into this a little bit with our listeners. How to speak to reporters. You have these little cool green cards that you guys have been sharing through LA Public Press social medias. Tell me a little bit about this and what can people take from this? Yeah,
so that reporting, I wrote an article to better inform people the way that they can operate themselves when speaking with media, right? Because we're seeing an unprecedented amount of media like parachute into Southeast LA and other communities that are facing these raids right now. And they're not necessarily understanding or mindful of how they're doing this work. And so we as a community need to be mindful about how we speak to major media, right? So even if that means that people are going to be more mindful and careful of how they speak to me, by all means, like, we should be taking care of each other. And that's one way I can help take care of my community, right? By telling them exactly what they can and can't do when speaking to reporters and what to expect, right? So I think learning things like what is on and off the record. Can I ask for journalists to not use my full name, to not include my job title, to withhold information about my location? And this is all stuff that's like used in trauma-informed reporting that I think every journalist should at least look into what trauma-informed reporting is and how we can apply that to the work that we do, especially now with the raids happening, because we don't want to put anyone in harm's way, right? We don't want to do more harm to the communities that we're trying to cover, right? And I think that's what it is, like, do no harm. Like doctors, right? Our goal is to do no harm. We want to tell stories, but we don't want to in turn hurt our sources, right? So protecting our sources, uplifting their voices while still maintaining their safety is pivotal. So that's why we wrote that, and we have these cards to distribute. And there's also a link in the article on lapublicpress.org. Where you can print them out yourselves. You can carry it with you if you're ever approached by media, like in any capacity, not just with the raids going on, but if ever you're approached by a media person for an interview for anything, you know how to take care of yourself and take care of your story.
Yeah. And now, do you have any tips for people who are civilian documentarians? How do they stay safe?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that we have to always reiterate is to not get involved. And especially with raids going on, like if you're documenting a raid or any kind of police action, make sure to not get in their way follow any orders. Know that you have the right to record police activity and to record these raids. But if they ask you to take a step back, like visibly show that you're taking a step back and then like continue. Continue to record. Always record. Never stop the recording because whatever happens in between, people can be like, oh, well, maybe you did something when that wasn't recording and that's why you were injured or whatever. So always record yourself adhering to whatever they're trying to get you to do. And ask questions, record them not answering your questions. So like, what's your name? What's your badge number? Who do you work for? Do you have warrants? Can we see the warrants? Things like that, I think, are with any kind of police activity, right? Like the ICE raids aside, any kind of police action that you witness, you can record and ask these same questions, right? And just like keep your distance, stay safe. I think that's one thing that like being a documentarian is vital and important. And if you get hurt, you can no longer do documenting. Right? You're taken out of action. You're no longer able to be on the street if you're injured and you can't do it. So take care of yourself. Drink water. You have no idea how many times people end up sick because they're just dehydrated, like at protests or whatever, Be safe. Evaluate your own personal like risk, like how much risk are you willing to put yourself in, and respect your own boundaries of safety. Like as long as you're comfortable doing what you're doing, you should be okay. But if you start feeling unsafe, feeling uncomfortable, feeling like you shouldn't be in a situation anymore, then at the end of the day, you still have to take care of yourself so that you can continue to do this work. So step away.
Some great words from Amanda. Thank you so much, Amanda, for taking the time to go through your work and just give us your experiences, your reality of how things are unfolding around us, and just really trying to keep true to what the community values,
Thank you.
With that, where can people find you or find out more about LA Public Press if they haven't done so already?
Yeah. So LA Public Press at lapublicpress.org. We're on all social medias at LA Public Press. So give us a follow there. You can also find me personally at ADELCIDLUGO, so A Del Cid Lugo on all platforms. I'm around. I use my platforms mostly for journalisms, so support my work there. And and listen to Social Primates.
Hey, thank you so much again for your time, Amanda. Everybody else, we'll see you next week. Good night.